Hey Reddit, I'm feeling completely shattered right now, and I really need to share what's going on in my life. My name is Lisa, and I've been married to my husband, Mark, for 6 years. From the outside, we had what many would consider a perfect marriage. We have a beautiful home, fulfilling careers, and a network of friends and family who support us. However, everything changed when I stumbled upon a truth that shattered my world. A few weeks ago, I started noticing small things that seemed off about Mark. He was coming home later than usual from work, and when I asked about his day, he would deflect my questions or change the subject. At first, I thought he might just be stressed about work, but a nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach told me something was wrong. I found myself increasingly paranoid, wondering if my instincts were correct. Then one evening, while I was scrolling through social media, I saw a post from my best friend, Jenna. She had tagged Mark in a photo of the two of them together at a local bar. They looked so happy, laughing and enjoying each other's company, and it sent a chill down my spine. I felt a wave of panic as I realized I hadn't seen Mark mention anything about going out with her. The dread pooled in my stomach, and I felt a rush of anger and betrayal. After staring at that photo for what felt like an eternity, I decided to check Mark's phone. I know it's an invasion of privacy, but my instincts were screaming at me. When I unlocked it, my heart raced with a mix of fear and determination. What I found made my stomach drop. He had been exchanging flirty texts with Jenna for weeks, inside jokes, emojis, and plans to meet up that were far too intimate for just friends. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My mind was racing as I processed the betrayal. How could my husband, the man I loved, do this to me? I felt sick to my stomach, but I knew I had to confront him. I couldn't let this go on any longer, and I needed answers. I decided to confront both Mark and Jenna, though I had no idea how to start that conversation. As I paced back and forth in our living room, rehearsing what I wanted to say, my heart raced at the thought of confronting Mark. I felt a mix of anger and dread. What if I was wrong? What if there was a rational explanation for what I had seen? But deep down, I knew that the evidence was overwhelming. When Mark walked in, he looked cheerful, completely unaware of the storm brewing within me. "Hey babe, how was your day?" he asked, his smile lighting up the room, but I could feel my stomach churn as I braced myself for the confrontation. "Can we talk?" I managed to say, my voice steadier than I felt. The smile faded from his face as he nodded, sensing the gravity in my tone. We sat down on the couch, and I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I saw a picture of you and Jenna together at the bar," I began, my voice trembling slightly. His expression shifted from confusion to alarm. "What's going on?" he asked, the panic evident in his eyes. I took another deep breath, summoning all my strength. "And I found some messages on your phone." Mark's face paled, and I could see the color drain from his cheeks. "Messages? What messages?" I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "The flirty ones. You know exactly what I'm talking about. How could you do this to me?" His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The silence was deafening, and I felt the betrayal crash down around me like a wave. "Lisa, I can explain," he finally stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. "No," I interrupted, my anger boiling over. "You don't get to explain away your betrayal. I want to know the truth. How long has this been going on?" Mark looked trapped, his eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. "I swear, it was just a mistake," he said, his tone filled with panic. "I never meant for it to happen like this. How could you let it happen?" I shot back, my heart racing. "You knew I was your wife. I trusted you, and you betrayed that trust." Mark finally regained his composure enough to respond. "It didn't start out as an affair. We were just talking, and then things escalated. I didn't think it would go this far." "Didn't think?" I echoed, disbelief pouring from my voice. "You're telling me that an affair with my best friend was just some spontaneous mistake?" "It didn't mean anything," he pleaded, his desperation evident. "I was lonely, and we got carried away. I love you, Lisa. I never wanted to hurt you." "Love?" I spat, the word bitter on my tongue. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." You've destroyed everything we built together. Please, just let me explain, he begged, his eyes searching mine. It was never about love. It was about something I was missing. I don't know why I let it happen. The anger inside me flared. You don't know why? How can you be so careless with my heart? Lisa, I'll end it with Jenna, he insisted, his voice filled with urgency. I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. Fix this? I laughed bitterly, the sound devoid of humor. You think it's that easy? You've broken my trust. You've shattered everything we had. Please, just give me a chance to make it right, he said, leaning closer. I flinched at his touch, the memories of betrayal flooding my mind. I need time to think, Mark, I finally said, my voice steadier now. I can't just jump back into the life we had before. You need to give me space. Space? He asked, panic flooding his voice. You can't be serious. We can fix this together. I stood up, needing distance from the man I once trusted completely. I need to think about what I really want, I replied, my heart heavy with the weight of my decision. And right now, all I can think about is how betrayed I feel. I need to process everything before I can even consider what comes next. Mark opened his mouth to respond, but I held up a hand to stop him. I need to be alone. I retreated to the bedroom, closing the door behind me and leaning against it for support. My heart raced as I fought to make sense of everything. The trust one had placed in Mark felt like it had been obliterated in an instant, and the thought of facing the world outside felt overwhelming. I sank onto the bed, burying my face in my hands, letting the tears flow freely. As I lay there, I couldn't help but reflect on our relationship. Mark had been my rock, my partner in everything. How could he betray me in the worst way? It felt surreal that the love I had cherished was now tainted by betrayal. I felt completely lost, trapped in a web of confusion and heartache. I reached for my phone, contemplating whether to call my sister, Rachel. She had always been my confidant, someone who would offer support without judgment. I needed to talk to someone who could help me sort through my emotions and provide perspective. After a moment's hesitation, I sent her a text. Can we talk? It's urgent. I hit send, my heart pounding as I waited for her reply. Of course. What's going on? She responded almost immediately, her eagerness to help making me feel a little lighter. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I just found out that Mark has been cheating on me with Jenna. There was a pause, and then Rachel replied, Oh my God, Lisa, I'm so sorry. What happened? I poured my heart out, sharing everything I had discovered. As I typed, I felt the weight of my pain spilling onto the screen. I confronted him, and he's begging for another chance. I don't know what to do. Have you spoken to Jenna? Rachel asked. Not yet, I admitted. I'm not sure if I want to confront her. You deserve answers from both of them, she replied, her tone firm. You need to know the truth. After the call with Rachel, I felt a surge of determination. I realized that I needed to take control of my situation. I couldn't let this betrayal define me or my future. I made a mental note to confront Jenna, but I also knew that I had to face Mark again. I couldn't let this hang over me any longer. The next day, I decided to meet Jenna. I sent her a message asking if we could talk. I felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation as I awaited her response. When she agreed to meet at our usual cafe, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in my stomach. As I arrived, I took a deep breath and tried to steady my nerves. I chose a table in the corner, hoping for some semblance of privacy. I had no idea how Jenna would react when I confronted her about the affair. When she walked in, her smile faded upon seeing me. Hey, Lisa. I wasn't expecting to see you here, she said, her voice laced with anxiety. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. We need to talk, Jenna. About what? She asked, her eyes darting away from mine. About you and Mark, I said, feeling the anger boil within me. I found out about the affair. Her face fell, and I could see the panic rising in her eyes. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, she stammered. Did you think I would never find out? How could you do this to me? I demanded, feeling the tears welling up again. I'm so sorry, Lisa, she said, her voice filled with regret. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. I felt a rush of conflicting emotions, anger, sadness, and even pity. You need to understand that I can't just forgive you. This has changed everything. I know, she said, her voice filled with remorse. I want you to be happy. I'm so sorry. As I stood up to leave, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. It didn't fix everything, but I was taking a step toward reclaiming my life. I knew I still had to confront Mark again, and I felt the weight of that decision pressing down on me. After my conversation with Jenna, I felt a mix of relief and lingering anger. The truth was out in the open, but it didn't change the reality of my situation. I still had to confront Mark again and discuss the future of our marriage. The thought made my stomach churn, but I knew it was necessary. When I got home, Mark was sitting on the couch, looking anxious. His expression shifted when he saw me, and I could tell he had been waiting for me to return. "Hey, how did it go?" he asked, trying to sound casual, but the tension in his voice was palpable. "Not great," I replied, my tone flat. "I spoke with Jenna, and I got the truth." Mark shifted uncomfortably, his hands clasped together. "And? What did she say?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "She admitted to the affair. She told me it just happened, but that doesn't change the fact that it happened." Mark's face fell, and I could see the guilt wash over him. "I'm so sorry, Lisa. I can't tell you how much I regret what happened." "Regret doesn't change anything," I said, feeling the anger rise within me again. "You've betrayed me, Mark. You hurt me in ways I never thought possible." "I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away," he said, his voice filled with remorse. "But I want to make it right. I'll do whatever it takes." "Do you even know what that means?" I challenged, crossing my arms. "It means being honest and facing the consequences of your actions." "I will be honest with you from now on," he insisted, leaning forward as if to emphasize his sincerity. "I promise to cut ties with Jenna and to go to counseling. I'll do everything to earn back your trust." I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and a flicker of hope. "Do you really think that's enough?" I asked, my voice softening slightly. "Do you think I can just forget this happened?" "I don't expect you to forget, but I want to work on it together," he replied, his eyes pleading. "I love you, Lisa, and I'm willing to fight for us." As I looked into his eyes, I saw genuine remorse and pain. But I also saw a man who had made a grave mistake. "You need to understand that it's not just about you anymore. I need to think about what's best for me." "I get that," he said, his voice gentle. "Just know that I'm here for you, no matter what you decide." As I pulled my hand away, I felt a mix of frustration and sadness. I wasn't ready to embrace the future we had once envisioned together. The reality of our situation was still too raw, and I knew I had to prioritize my own healing. Once in the bedroom, I sank onto the bed, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on me. I glanced around at the familiar surroundings, the photos of us smiling together, the little trinkets we had collected over the years, and a fresh wave of grief washed over me. It felt surreal to think that those moments were now tainted by betrayal. I pulled out my phone and opened up a notes app. I needed to organize my thoughts. What did I want? What were my feelings about Mark, about Jenna, and about our future together? I began typing, pouring my heart out onto the screen. Thoughts on Mark. "I love him, but can I ever trust him again? He broke my heart. Can I forgive him? He says he wants to change, but actions speak louder than words." Thoughts on Jenna. "She was my best friend. I never expected her to betray me like this. I feel angry and hurt. I don't know if I can ever forgive her." Future. "I want to prioritize my self-worth. I deserve honesty and loyalty. What do I need to do to heal?" As I typed, the tears flowed freely. It felt cathartic to express my thoughts and emotions in such a raw and honest way. But with every word, I was reminded of the betrayal, the heartache, and the uncertainty that lay ahead. After a while, I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling, feeling utterly exhausted. I wanted to believe that everything would work out, but doubt lingered in the back of my mind. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text message from Rachel. "Hey, just checking in. How are you holding up?" I took a deep breath and decided to reply. Not great. I confronted Mark, and it was intense. I also talked to Jenna. It's a mess. Rachel quickly responded, I'm here for you. Let's get together soon. You deserve to talk about this. I appreciated her support, and it reminded me that I wasn't alone in this. I had people who cared about me, and I needed to lean on them as I navigated this difficult time. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions as I continued to grapple with the fallout from Mark's affair. I felt like I was living in a fog, going through the motions but not truly engaging with life. I returned to work, trying to focus on my tasks, but my mind kept wandering back to the conversations I had with Mark and Jenna. Mark was trying hard to prove himself. He would text me throughout the day, asking how I was doing and expressing his love. While part of me appreciated the effort, another part felt suffocated. It was difficult to shift from feeling betrayed to needing space. One night, I decided to meet Rachel for dinner. I needed to talk to someone who knew me well and could offer an outside perspective. We met at a cozy restaurant, and as soon as I sat down, I felt a sense of comfort wash over me. Hey, you look a little better than last time, Rachel said, offering me a warm smile. How are you holding up? I'm still trying to process everything. I don't know if I can ever look at Mark the same way again, I replied, feeling a little more at ease. Have you thought about what you want? Rachel asked gently. I honestly don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to believe that he can change, but another part of me is terrified of being hurt again. Rachel nodded, her expression understanding. It's okay to feel that way. You've been through a lot, and healing takes time. Just remember that you deserve happiness and honesty. I know, I said, looking down at the table. I just feel so lost right now. I don't know what happiness looks like anymore. Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're strong, and you'll get through this. But you have to put yourself first. Don't let anyone dictate your happiness. As we continued to talk, I felt a sense of clarity beginning to emerge. I didn't have to rush into making a decision. I could take my time to evaluate what I wanted and needed moving forward. I'll keep working on myself and the relationship, I said finally. But I need to make sure that I'm prioritizing my own well-being first. That sounds like a solid plan, Rachel said with a warm smile. I'm here for you every step of the way. I left the restaurant feeling lighter, knowing that I had support and the strength to navigate whatever lay ahead. The following weeks became a journey of healing and self-discovery. I began attending counseling sessions with Mark, where we faced our issues head-on. The sessions were tough, filled with tears and raw emotions, but I felt a sense of progress as we delved into the root causes of Mark's actions. During one session, Mark opened up about his feelings of inadequacy and loneliness, feelings he had kept buried for far too long. I let my insecurities take over, he admitted, his voice trembling. I didn't know how to communicate with you, and I sought comfort in Jenna. It was wrong, and I'm deeply sorry. Listening to him speak, I felt a mix of compassion and frustration. You need to understand that your choices have consequences, I said, my voice firm. You broke my trust, and now I'm left picking up the pieces. I know, and I'm willing to do the work, he insisted, his eyes earnest. I'll fight for you, for us. I want to be the husband you deserve. As we continued our sessions, I began to recognize the importance of rebuilding my own self-worth. I focused on rediscovering my passions, spending time with friends, and finding joy in the little things. I found solace in painting again, a hobby I had neglected for far too long, and it became a therapeutic outlet for my emotions. But even as I worked on myself, doubt lingered in the back of my mind. Could I truly forgive Mark? Would I ever be able to trust him again? One evening, as I was painting in the living room, Mark approached me, his expression hopeful. I've been thinking, and I want to take you out for a special dinner this weekend. Just the two of us. I want to show you how much you mean to me. I looked at him, surprised by the gesture. Okay, I'd like that, I replied cautiously, feeling a flicker of hope. It was a small step forward, but it was a step nonetheless. I realized that while the journey ahead would be challenging, I was starting to reclaim my own happiness, and maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us to rebuild. As the weekend approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Mark had planned a special dinner, and while I appreciated the effort, I couldn't shake the lingering doubts about our future. I wanted to believe that we could rebuild our marriage, but the memories of betrayal haunted me. When the day finally arrived, I took extra care in getting ready. I put on a beautiful dress that I hadn't worn in a while, and I styled my hair with a little more effort than usual. I wanted to feel good about myself, regardless of the underlying emotions. Mark had reserved a table at our favorite restaurant, and as we arrived, I could see the effort he had put into making the evening special. The ambience was cozy, with soft music playing in the background and candlelight flickering on the table. It felt romantic, but the weight of our situation loomed over us. "I'm really glad we're doing this," Mark said, his eyes shining with sincerity. "I've missed our time together." "Me too," I replied, forcing a smile. "It feels nice to have a night out." As we sat down, we engaged in light conversation, reminiscing about the early days of our relationship. It felt bittersweet. Part of me enjoyed the nostalgia, while another part reminded me of the pain that had come between us. As the waiter brought our food, I took a moment to collect my thoughts. "Mark, I want to talk about our progress," I said, my voice steady. "I appreciate what you're doing, but I still need to understand how we got here." "Of course," he replied, looking serious. "I know we have a lot to unpack. I'm ready whenever you are." "Okay," I said, taking a deep breath. "It's just that I feel like you need to recognize that this isn't just about us right now. It's about me and my feelings too. I need to heal." "I understand," he said softly, "and I want to be here for you as you do. I'll do anything to support you." As we talked, I felt the emotional walls I had built begin to crack. I was still wary, but there was a part of me that wanted to hope for a brighter future. As the evening unfolded, I found myself feeling more at ease with Mark. Our conversations flowed more naturally, and we shared laughs, reminiscing about old memories that felt genuine despite the pain that had shadowed us for weeks. It was a glimpse of the connection we once had, and I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. After finishing dinner, Mark suggested we take a walk along the waterfront, a place we used to frequent during our early dating days. "I want to show you how much you mean to me," he said, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I've been thinking a lot about what went wrong, and I want to make it right." As we walked along the water, I was reminded of our love story, the laughter, the shared dreams, and the moments that had brought us together. Yet, the scars of betrayal were still fresh, and I knew that this wasn't a fairy tale. "Mark," I began, stopping to face him, "I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I need you to understand that trust is not something I can just give back freely. It's going to take time." "I get that," he replied, nodding earnestly. "I'm not expecting miracles. I just want you to know that I'm committed to working through this together." I sighed, feeling a mix of frustration and hope. "I want to believe you, but I'm scared. Scared of getting hurt again. I need you to be honest with me about everything, even the uncomfortable truths." "I promise, Lisa. I will be completely open with you," he vowed. "I never want to hurt you again." As we continued our walk, I felt a sense of clarity beginning to emerge. I knew that the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but maybe there was a chance for us to rebuild what had been broken. The journey would take time, but perhaps we could find our way back to each other. As the weeks rolled on, Mark and I continued to navigate the complexities of rebuilding our relationship. We attended counseling sessions regularly, and I found myself growing more comfortable expressing my feelings, fears, and desires. Each session was emotionally charged, filled with difficult conversations, but it was also a time of profound growth for both of us. One evening, during a particularly intense session, Mark opened up about his feelings of inadequacy and loneliness that had led to his infidelity. "I was too focused on my own insecurities," he admitted, his voice trembling. "Instead of talking to you about my feelings, I chose to seek validation elsewhere, and it was the worst mistake of my life." I listened intently, trying to empathize with his struggles, but the pain still lingered. "It's hard to hear you say that," I finally said. "You had a choice, Mark. You chose to betray me." "I know," he said, tears welling in his eyes. "And I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, and I hate myself for it." I realize now how much I took for granted. As the session ended, I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, but also a flicker of hope. There were moments when I could see glimpses of the man I had fallen in love with, and it made me question whether there was a path forward for us. Outside the counseling office, we walked in silence, my mind racing with thoughts. "Lisa, I want to make this right," Mark said softly, breaking the silence. "I love you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes." "I appreciate that," I replied, my heart heavy. "But it's going to take more than just words. I need to see real change." "Then let's do this together," he said, his voice filled with determination. "I'm committed to rebuilding our trust and showing you that I can be the husband you deserve." As we headed home, I felt a cautious optimism starting to emerge. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was beginning to believe that healing was possible. The weeks turned into months as Mark and I worked on rebuilding our relationship. I continued to focus on my own healing, rediscovering my passions and hobbies. I began painting again, pouring my emotions onto the canvas, and it became a therapeutic outlet for me. With each brushstroke, I found a sense of release, and it helped me process the pain I had been feeling. Mark was doing his part as well. He was attending individual therapy, working through his issues, and it felt like he was genuinely committed to change. He would often share insights from his sessions, and I could see the effort he was putting into our marriage. One evening, after a long day, Mark surprised me with dinner at home. "I wanted to do something special for you," he said, his eyes filled with warmth. "I know it's been a long journey, but I want to show you how much you mean to me." As we sat at the table, I felt a mix of apprehension and hope. We talked about our day, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of normalcy returning to our lives. We laughed and reminisced about our favorite memories, and it felt good to reconnect. But even amidst the laughter, I couldn't shake the lingering doubts. I was still hesitant to fully trust him, and the fear of being hurt again loomed in the back of my mind. I had come a long way, but the scars of betrayal were still fresh. "Mark," I said softly, "I'm grateful for the effort you're making, but I need you to know that I'm still healing. I'm not ready to fully let my guard down yet." "I understand," he replied, his expression earnest. "I'll be patient. I just want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter how long it takes." As I looked into his eyes, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could rebuild our relationship, one step at a time. It wouldn't be easy, but I was beginning to believe that love, when nurtured with honesty and understanding, could be resilient. As time passed, I noticed gradual changes in our relationship. Mark was making a genuine effort to communicate more openly, and we began to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. However, I still grappled with the ghosts of the past. There were moments when doubt crept in, especially when he would receive a text from an unknown number. My heart would race, and I would fight the urge to panic. During one of our counseling sessions, I decided to address my feelings of insecurity. "I find myself feeling anxious when your phone buzzes," I admitted, feeling vulnerable. "I know it's irrational, but I can't help but worry." Mark nodded, his expression understanding. "I get it. I know I've broken your trust, and it's going to take time to rebuild it. But I want you to feel secure." "I appreciate that, but I need to know that I can trust you fully," I said, my voice steady. "I don't want to live in fear of being hurt again." "We can set boundaries," he suggested. "I'll be transparent with my phone and social media. I want to create an environment where you feel safe." That idea resonated with me. I needed to feel secure in our relationship, and having open communication would be a step in the right direction. "Thank you, Mark. That would help a lot," I replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. After the session, we went for a walk in the park, and as we strolled hand in hand, I felt a sense of normalcy returning. We talked about our future, about our hopes and dreams, and for the first time in a while, I felt a sense of optimism creeping in. "Let's plan a trip together," Mark suggested, his eyes bright with excitement. "Just the two of us. It would be nice to reconnect." I hesitated for a moment, but the idea of spending quality time together without distractions sounded appealing. "That could be nice," I said, allowing a smile to form on my lips. As we planned our trip, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Mark and I decided to go to a cabin in the mountains, a place we had visited early in our relationship. The thought of getting away from the chaos of everyday life excited me, and I looked forward to spending quality time together in a beautiful setting. The day of the trip arrived, and as we drove toward the mountains, I felt a sense of anticipation. The scenery changed from bustling city streets to winding roads surrounded by tall trees and breathtaking views. I rolled down the window, letting the crisp mountain air fill the car as Mark turned up the music, filling the space with our favorite songs. When we arrived at the cabin, it was as beautiful as I remembered. The rustic charm of the place brought back memories of happier times. We unpacked our bags and settled in, and I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. That evening, as the sun set, we lit a fire outside on the deck, and the warmth enveloped us. We talked about everything and nothing, reminiscing about our early days together. The laughter felt genuine, and I could feel the connection between us slowly rekindling. "Lisa, I know we've been through a lot," Mark said, his expression serious as he looked into my eyes. "I want you to know how much I love you and how committed I am to making this work." "I love you too, Mark," I replied, feeling the sincerity in my heart. "But I also need to focus on my healing. I'm not going to rush into anything, and I hope you understand that." "Absolutely. Take all the time you need," he said softly. "I'll be right here, supporting you every step of the way." As we sat together by the fire, I felt a glimmer of hope for the future. I knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but maybe we could find a way to rebuild our relationship, one step at a time. With each passing day, I felt stronger, ready to embrace the uncertainty of life ahead, confident that I was prioritizing my happiness and well-being above all else.